Jungle.
Good morning to one and all. This is Vaanathi Chonachalam from Chempaka International, ready to report global news this week. Devastating fire hits New York City apartment. Heartbreak struck at the start of this week when tragedy unfolded in New York City. High-rise apartment went up in flames due to a malfunctioning space heater. Marked as one of New York's deadliest fires in 3 decades, the accident claimed 19 precious lives, out of which 9 were children below the age of 16. More than 5 dozen were injured, and 13 have been hospitalized in critical condition. The death toll was the highest for a fire in the city since the Happy Land fire, other than the September 11 terror attacks. It's also the deadliest fire at a U.S. residential apartment building in years. Local communities are mourning their losses, and devastating families are attempting to recover. COVID cases have been skyrocketing across the world, and Omicron is on the rise. Just as it seemed that life was going back to normal in countries like America, the rise of a new variant and another wave has struck again. On Tuesday, over 1.3 million Americans tested positive for COVID-19 in one day. The European Regional Director of the WHO told reporters that more than 7 million COVID-19 cases were seen in the European region in the first week of 2022. 26 countries in Europe reported that over 1% of the population had been infected with COVID-19 each week. The top WHO official also said that countries that are facing an Omicron surge should prioritize avoiding and reducing harm among the vulnerable and minimize disruption to health systems and essential services. In India, Omicron cases increased by more than 400 in 24 hours on Tuesday, with 28 states affected. The Omicron variant is believed to be leading the surge in COVID-19 infection across the country, though the infections are believed to be milder. The government has, however, asked people not to let their guards down. Joe Biden has been aiming for change in Senate rules. Joe Biden has been pushing for change in legislation regarding voting rights in the USA, advocating for the passage of 2 laws. Arguably the most contentious political issue in American politics at the moment, the debate on voting rights relates to who gets to vote, how, where, who counts the votes, and who certifies the election. The dispute between Republicans and Democrats on all of these questions has intensified over the past decade. With these questions in mind, Joe Biden made a pitch to the Congress to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, which he claimed would ensure full access to voting by mail, enough drop boxes, provision of food and water to people waiting in line, protection of nonpartisan election officials from intimidation and interference, create fairer district maps, etc. The second law that he had advocated for, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, would restore federal supervision over changes in election laws in states with a history of racial discrimination, a key provision of the Voting Rights Act, which was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2013. Joe Biden has been aiming for change in Senate rules. Joe Biden has been pushing for change in legislation regarding voting rights in the USA, advocating for the passage of 2 laws. Arguably the most contentious political issue in American politics at the moment. Concerns arise in the international community in light of North Korean missile tests. Following the identification of 2 missile tests conducted by North Korea, the American government announced that it will be going through with the imposition of sanctions. These sanctions target 6 North Korean individuals, 1 Russian and a Russian firm. The U.S. Treasury further stated that these steps were aimed at reducing any further attempts of advancements in this program by North Korea. While announcing the sanctions, the U.S. Treasury Department also said that North Korea has conducted 6 ballistic missile launches since September 2021, each of which violated UN Security Council resolutions. Secretary of the Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, Brian Nelson, said in a statement that North Korea's latest launches were further evidence that it continues to advance prohibited programs despite the international community's calls for diplomacy and denuclearization. Sports news. Novak Djokovic's visa gets revoked twice. The Australian government cancelled Novak Djokovic's visa for the second time this Friday as it sought to deport the tennis star after he arrived in the country without a COVID-19 vaccine. The Immigration Minister, Alex Hawke, said that he acted on health and good order grounds. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's government is firmly committed to protecting Australia's borders, particularly in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, Hawke said in a statement. Cancellation effectively means Djokovic would be prevented from a new Australian visa for 3 years, except under certain circumstances. Djokovic took to his social media to apologize for not self-isolating immediately after receiving his diagnosis, but denied knowing that he had contracted the virus while attending certain public events. In his statement, Djokovic also admitted doing an interview and photo shoot with a French sports newspaper while COVID positive, which he conceded was an error of judgment. The visa decision put the Serbian world number one's dream of a 10th Australian Open title and a record 21st Grand Slam in peril. And with that, we conclude the world news for this week. This is Vaanathi signing off, and we shall see you all next week.